strong like Hedman, but I don't know there's a streak in him. He doesn't like back down.
No, but he plays with force.
Yes, he plays with force.
And that's it. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about scaring guys, intimidating guys, ripping guys'
He can
heads
go
off.
forward.
I'm just saying, though, when he's out there, he's forceful in controlling and managing the play.
These big guys can play, Barkov, Matthews when he's good. Like some of these big guys who aren't tough can still be tough to play against, and Power is certainly not tough to play against yet.
I'd be terrified trading Cousins.
Yeah.
Cousins to me seem like
I'm less scared trading him than Power.
Any of these guys, the way it goes with the Sabres stuff now, any guy you trade, whoever it is,
You're
it's
worried he's gonna be
Reinhart, it's
Reinhart,
Eichel, it's Montour, it's all of them.
First of all, I don't believe that there's a team out there right now that would be willing to do a package for Owen Power right now to take on $8.3 million without knowing for sure what you think you're getting. And right now you don't know what you're getting with him. So there is, in my opinion, there is no deal out there for an Owen Power right now. Unless they want to eat money off of it. No. And they won't.
I have long been a proponent of let's pay this guy before everyone else realizes he's going to be worth so much more. The Power one and their other guy there. Is it Rasmussen? I forget.
Well, there was a few of
the
those.
Power one is like at least bridge him and let him have a year before. Like Jack Hughes had a year of you can see it's there. I don't know that Power has had that.
The last few years, Ottawa has been dealing with that. You paid all your young guys without really knowing for sure.
Matthias Samuelsson is what you're looking for,
right?
Samuelsson, yeah. Jeez.
And
Justin,
it's okay.
Players got to catch up to that.
Yeah.
Right now, it just doesn't seem like it's more Ottawa's time finally than it is Buffalo's right now.
Everyone was like, let's do the Nick Paul thing. And then meanwhile, Pierre Engvall's banking 20.
Huge night tonight. I'm just not talking about hockey. Don Postles is retiring.
Who?
Don Postles. Buffalo News, Channel 4.
Congratulations to Don.
Irv Weinstein.
Oh, you read that Simmons column yesterday with a bunch of names in it. That's what you did.
It was a good column, though.
Okay.
It was a good column.
He's like, I am an old guy as well.
Yeah.
Commander Tom. Commander Tom mean anything to you? Oh, my.
Sorry.
You guys are puppies.
We're
Puppies.
just kids, but we're kids.
All right.
I'm
off
the
rails is next
dinosaur.
with Doug McClain. Don't go away. All right. Let's take it national on the Real Kipper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kipper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kiprios, Justin Bourne, we welcome back Sammy McKee. And as always, Derek Brandeo and Jake the Snake Schultz.
Yes. Also, we should take requests for texts if you'd like to. Text us at 590-590, and Kipper, myself, and Sammy will do our best to answer your questions.
So between now and maybe about 40 minutes from now, we'll have riveting radio and TV for you.
Riveting.
And then we'll run out of ideas.
Please generate our content.
Yes, at 590. In a couple of minutes, we'll have Doug McClain. He'll help us kill about 20 minutes. He'll solve nothing and only confuse us that much more.
For the record,
it'll be fun.
Doug will be fun, but when people generate our content, they come up with ideas, like our friend of the show, Dr. Philosophical, who says, if you're Chicago, would you trade Seth Jones for Owen Power, taking that risk? Owen Power makes 8.3, struggling, high potential. Seth Jones, playing pretty good, 9.5, a steady NHLD right now. Buffalo wants to get better.
How old Seth Jones?
For the record, I would do this if I was Chicago and take on Owen Power.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
Yes, I would too.
So there would have to be some additional.
Yeah. What, are we talking about 6 years difference?
In
Owen
age?
Power's
Oh, yeah.
22 and Seth is how old?
I don't know. Seth
come on.
Jones' age. He is 30 years old.
Yeah,
That's
come
a lot
on.
of
You
years.
cannot give up those years
All right.
for sure. So I'll give you one a little better.
Okay.
More realistic than Sammy's.
Me?
Yeah. You're the one that suggested it.
I didn't. No, I didn't suggest. I read
Actually,
it
tweet.
Yeah, you read it. Okay.
in a break.
Well,
I read it in the break.
you read
Got
it in the
there.
break.
I
You're,
did,
you're the
yeah.
one that brought up Seth Jones.
Sure.
Unrealistic. How about Keandre Miller, New York Rangers?
For Owen Power.
Yeah.
Then the Rangers are almost saying we're focusing more down the road.
Maybe.
I'm in.
Maybe. All right. Fresh off his latest tweet on X.
What did he tweet?
I don't know. He was hiking. He was doing something. And then he sent getting ready for the Real Kipper and Bourne show. So let's bring him in. Doug MacLean, former NHL president, general manager, head coach, and author. Where were you when you tweeted today that you were prepping for us?
I was jogging on the beach. Did
Which
you not
sailboat
read
is
the tweet?
yours in the picture?
No, none of the sailboats. I hang out over there though during the day once in a while, you know.
So,
but listen, who that might be the dumbest trade I've ever heard.
Which
Seth
one?
Jones for Owen Power. Like who in their right mind would say? See, that's
Sammy.
what that's a
Sammy made
general
it up.
manager
I
and a
didn't.
radio junkie or whatever he is. Like seriously.
yeah.
So here's what they
We
here's what
squashed
they,
it.
here's the deal they have to make a 2-for-1 deal. Okay, like I'll give you an example of a 2-for-1 deal. They trade Chychrun to Washington, Ottawa, right? And they got 2 players for Chychrun. They got Jensen and they got Shabbat. Because all of a sudden Shabbat can play now because he's got Jensen with him. That's what they need.
Yeah, he's
They
been
need
better.
to make a trade to bring somebody in to help Owen Power become the player he's supposed to be. That's what you have to do. Jensen, and I said it on your show 2 months ago about the difference in Jensen in Ottawa. He is now all of a sudden, it's fun to watch Shabbat play because he's finally playing to his potential. And that's what it's about, bringing in quality veterans with these kids in Buffalo. That's what it's all about.
Where would handing him $8.3 million a year come into play on where his development is today for you?
Well, look, it's a lot more than that. They've had 10 years of top 10 picks. 10 years of picking in the top 10, 2 first overall, 2 second overalls, and not hardly one of them have played a game in the American Hockey League. Not hardly a game in the American Hockey League.
But
Like,
hold on.
the-
First pick overalls and second overall picks don't hardly play in the American Hockey League.
Exactly, but there's 6 others that were picked that didn't play in the American League behind them. Kids have got to learn to play the game, and they've got a bunch of young guys there that haven't learned the game, and they don't have the right veterans with them. They've tried, and you know what? It's one of the toughest jobs of being a general manager when you're with a bottom feeder, and you've got to get the big. They had Eichel, they had Reinhart. Just think about, I watched Calgary game last night. You watch Tkachuk, and I've talked about him on this show numerous times. This guy was taken after Kokoniemi in the draft, okay?
Brady,
I
we're
watched him
talking.
last night get sliced up, takes a high stick, goes out, scores the winning goal. Then he's the first one out to do an interview. This guy, if you, as a franchise, I was never lucky enough to get that type of player. We dreamt about it. Remember, we missed out on Taves. We missed out on all these great players, Stahl, Taves. They all went ahead of where we picked. And it used to drive me absolutely bonkers. Now Ottawa, with this big horse, like a Barkov, like the big guys around you need that big horse that's going to be your go-to leader and surround them with better players. And I feel for, like Kevin it's frightening watching this team play right now. I'm telling you.
You had a shot
Anyway.
at Kopitar and you blew it.
Leafs facing center crisis amid injuries, eyeing trade market for solutions. As the Toronto Maple Leafs battle through a growing injury list and a suspension, their lack of depth at the center position has become a glaring issue. According to Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman in his latest 32 Thoughts article, the Leafs are among the teams exploring trade options to bolster their lineup. This effort is coming amid increasing competition from teams like the Chicago Blackhawks and Nashville Predators, who have also set their sights on improving their center depth. Friedman didn't mince words about the Leafs' predicament. The teams currently focusing on centers, including Chicago and Nashville, must consider when others will enter the market. Toronto will undoubtedly be one of those teams, he wrote. While the Blackhawks and Predators may have an edge in terms of cap space and assets, the Leafs remain a team to watch as the season progresses. The Leafs situation is urgent, with up to 7 forwards currently unavailable due to injury or suspension. Ryan Reeves is serving a 5-game suspension, while key players like Auston Matthews, upper body, Matthew Knies, upper body, Kaje Jarnkrok, groin/sports hernia, David Kampf, lower body, Max Domi, lower body, and Max Pacioretty, lower body, are all sidelined. The team has even considered temporarily shifting Mitch Marner to the center position, highlighting the severity of their depth issues. This isn't just a short-term concern for the Leafs. Depth at center has been a persistent challenge for the team, and while stopgap solutions like Marner could help in the interim, the front office appears keen to explore longer-term fixes. For fans of the blue and white, this has been a recurring theme. The Leafs' center depth often becomes a problem at the worst possible times. James Myrtle of The Athletic recently added more fuel to the speculation, naming several potential trade targets who could help the Leafs address their issues. Among them is Ryan O'Reilly, a familiar name for Toronto fans. O'Reilly, who signed a 4-year, $18 million deal with Nashville in 2023, might be a trade candidate if the Predators' underwhelming start to the season, 6-11-3, 31st in the league, prompts a rebuild. However, his steep price tag and history with the Leafs, including rejecting a free agency offer less than 2 years ago, make this a complex and potentially unlikely move. Other names mentioned by Myrtle include former Leaf Nazem Kadri, currently with Calgary, as well as players like Michael Granlund, Nick Jugstad, Brock Nelson, Yanni Gourde, Trent Frederic, Radek Faksa, and Sean Kuraly. While some of these options seem more plausible than others, it's clear that general manager Brad Treliving will need to get creative to find the right piece without mortgaging the team's future. Cap space remains one of the biggest obstacles for the Leafs. Unlike teams like Chicago and Nashville, which have more flexibility and assets, Toronto is walking a financial tightrope. As Friedman noted, competition will intensify as cap-constrained teams strive to create room. For the Leafs, that could mean waiting for the market to develop further, a risky move given their current needs. The situation also highlights the Leafs' ongoing struggle to build a roster that can withstand the grueling nature of an NHL season. Injuries are an inevitability in hockey, but Toronto's current predicament underscores the importance of depth, a quality the team has struggled to consistently maintain. Looking back on recent years, the Leafs have often leaned heavily on their star players, particularly Matthews, Marner, and William Nylander. While these players have delivered in spades, the lack of reliable depth options has left the team vulnerable in critical moments. The current crisis at center is merely the latest example of this recurring issue. Some fans have called for more aggressive moves from Treliving, arguing that now is the time to strike while the team's core is in its prime. Others, however, are more cautious, pointing to the dangers of overpaying for short-term fixes. Striking the right balance will be key, especially as the Leafs aim to keep their championship window open. Despite the challenges, there's no denying that Toronto has the talent to be a contender, provided they can patch up their lineup. The ongoing rumors and speculation surrounding potential trades show that the Leafs are at least exploring every avenue to strengthen their roster. For fans of the blue and white, this moment feels like a pivotal point in the season. With a lineup ravaged by injuries and a tough schedule ahead, the Leafs must act decisively to avoid falling behind in the standings. The addition of a dependable center could be the difference between weathering the storm or watching another season slip away. Whether it's O'Reilly, Kadri, or another surprise name, one thing is certain: the Leafs are under pressure to deliver. And for a fan base as passionate and loyal as Toronto's, there's no room for excuses. The time to act is now, and Leafs Nation is watching closely. As the trade deadline approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Treliving pull off a move that solidifies the Leafs' status as a contender, or will the search for center depth become yet another chapter in the team's long history of what-ifs? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: it's never boring in Leafs land. As the Maple Leafs navigate this critical juncture, their fan base remains as vocal as ever. Toronto is a city that breathes hockey, and the pressure on Brad Treliving to make the right moves is immense. Every decision he makes, or doesn't make, will be scrutinized, from talk radio to social media, where Leafs Nation is already debating the merits of the various names being floated as potential trade targets. Among the louder debates is whether the team should prioritize a high-profile acquisition like Ryan O'Reilly or Nazem Kadri, or focus on a lower-cost, reliable center who can fill a supporting role without costing too many future assets. While O'Reilly's leadership and playoff experience make him an attractive option, his contract and recent history with the Leafs add layers of complexity to any potential reunion. Similarly, Kadri's gritty, two-way playstyle remains a fan favorite, but his cap hit and availability might render him an unrealistic target. Another factor complicating the Leafs situation is their tight salary cap. While Chicago and Nashville can make moves with relative ease due to their financial flexibility, Toronto must navigate a labyrinth of constraints to make any trade work. This likely means including salary retention or moving existing contracts to make room, which could drive up the cost of any potential deal. The question then becomes, how much are the Leafs willing to sacrifice to address their immediate needs? One potential trade partner generating buzz is the Seattle Kraken. Yanni Gourde, a dependable two-way center, has been mentioned as a possible target. Gourde's versatility and championship pedigree from his time with Tampa Bay make him an appealing option. Seattle, however, is in playoff contention and may not be inclined to part with a key piece unless the Leafs can provide a substantial return. Another intriguing name is Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders. Nelson is a consistent scorer and reliable faceoffman, qualities that would undoubtedly bolster Toronto's center depth. However, the Islanders are notoriously cautious when it comes to trades, and prying Nelson away would likely require a significant package, including picks or prospects that the Leafs may be hesitant to part with. For all the trade talk, some analysts believe the solution might come from within. Sheldon Keefe has shown a willingness to experiment with his lineup, and players like Pontus Holmberg or Fraser Minton could be given an opportunity to step up. While relying on less experienced players carries risks, it might be the Leafs' only option if the trade market proves too costly or slow to develop. Adding to the Leafs' urgency is the timing. The Atlantic Division remains one of the toughest in the league, with teams like Boston, Florida, and Tampa Bay continuing to dominate. Any prolonged slump could see Toronto slip further down the standings, putting their playoff hopes in jeopardy. For a team with Stanley Cup aspirations, failing to address their weaknesses could have catastrophic consequences. Brad Treliving's history as a general manager suggests he's not afraid to make bold moves. His time with the Calgary Flames was marked by blockbuster trades, including the acquisition of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar in the Matthew Tkachuk deal. Leafs fans hope he brings that same decisiveness to Toronto, especially as the trade deadline looms. Beyond the immediate need for a center, this situation underscores a broader issue with the Leafs roster construction. Depth has been a perennial concern, and while Toronto boasts some of the league's top-end talent, their reliance on a handful of stars has left them vulnerable in moments like this. Moving forward, addressing this imbalance must be a priority for the front office if the team is to achieve sustained success. As the Leafs head into a critical stretch of the season, the next few weeks could define their trajectory.